what I just showed was an incident where Meet Kevin, dressed as an elf, was handcuffed and eventually was charged with stalking and harassment. Now, this incident happened a few years ago, right before his channel blew up. At the time of the incident, Meet Kevin had less than 50,000 subscribers, which was very fortunate for him and allowed him to cover up the full story and twist the facts around the incident. Had this happened today with his almost 2 million subscribers, there is no way he would have been able to hide the full story. Now, in order to go over exactly what happened with this stalking case, we have to go back to the very beginning of Meet Kevin's channel. Now, what's funny is that many people have left comments on my videos saying that what I'm doing is wrong, making videos bashing Kevin, and most people don't seem to realize that Kevin started his channel doing exactly the same thing. His channel in the beginning was devoted entirely to bashing a real estate guru by the name of Grant Cardone. Kevin was madly obsessed with the guy, and he eventually made over 20 videos bashing him. These videos were what grew his channel all the way to 100,000 subscribers. Now, making videos calling out people you dislike is fine. I do it all the time. However, Kevin, being the psycho that he is, decided to take things way too far. In 2018, Grant Cardone did a live stream show where people would call in and ask him questions about real estate, and Kevin would constantly call into the show trying to stump Grant and trick him into saying something stupid about real estate so Kevin could then make videos about it.
Hey, question for you, though. On this investing topic and some of the things you've talked about here, and of course you frequently talk about investing with you if you don't have the time, money, or credit. But there are some people who do have the time, money, and credit. So I was wondering, instead of talking down the small deals where people have leverage, 5 to 20% down in 1 to 4 real estate, and the wedge opportunities in small deals, which sounds really familiar, by the way, why wouldn't you encourage smaller investors to focus on growing a portfolio of small deals, then in the future sell off and invest with you?
Now, all of this so far, in my opinion, was okay, but Kevin again had to push further in order to get more views. Kevin eventually bought a ticket to Florida so he could hunt down Grant Cardone at an event he was attending known as the Driven Conference. Kevin followed Grant Cardone around town and recorded himself confronting Grant Cardone on a few occasions.
This was a total fluke. I was leaving the event after having just talked to Ty Lopez and Tim Grover, Brad Lee, and some other people, and then I happened to stumble upon Grant outside. So, what do? I went right up to him. I don't mean it personally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I understand. I understand, dude. Everybody's trying to get their piece. You got to figure out how you're going to get it,
Yeah.
So,
I get that.
Thank
you. You started out with a small deal, right? But it didn't work out. You mentioned that, the house.
Kevin eventually very creepily tried to confront Grant Cardone's wife and asked for a selfie. Fortunately, she was smart enough to turn him down.
Alright, then I asked Elena for a selfie, and, well, guess I don't blame her. She denied me.
Now, after all of this, Kevin wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. He wanted to do something so outlandish for YouTube, he would never be forgotten. This was what ultimately led to the event that got Kevin sued for stalking. In December of 2018, Kevin gathered a group of his YouTube supporters, and all of them dressed up as Christmas elves and Santas. They purchased hundreds of poinsettia flowers and drove to Grant Cardone's business, Cardone Capital, in Florida. Kevin and his team then burst into the building uninvited, started blasting Christmas music and screaming "Merry Christmas to the Cardones" as loud as they could. Kevin eventually ran up the room with a bullhorn yelling that he wanted to talk to Cardone and started handing out poinsettias to his employees. When Kevin wasn't able to speak to Cardone, he eventually sat on the floor and started pouting like a baby. Grant Cardone, in a disposition, later described Kevin as strung out and that his eyes were wild and bloodshot. Now, these events frightened Grant's staff, and security asked Kevin and his team to leave. Kevin's team eventually went outside the building and started tearing up the landscaping and tried to plant the hundreds of poinsettias they had brought. Grant's security team then began to throw the poinsettias away in a dumpster, which infuriated Kevin. Kevin and his team tried to force their way back into Cardone Capital, but were stopped by security and the doors were locked. Now, Kevin, undeterred, eventually found a back door that, according to Grant's team, was locked, and Kevin allegedly broke the lock and re-entered the building. Once inside, Cardone's staff tackled Kevin and forcibly detained him until cops arrived and he was handcuffed. Now, this entire incident was recorded by Kevin as well as several other people. Kevin eventually posted all this cringy and creepy content to his YouTube channel. However, after Grant sued him for stalking, he took it all down. Sadly, I was only able to find a few seconds of the event from another YouTuber who also attended the event. I know that several people recorded the event, and if anyone has the full footage, my email is linked below and I would love to see it. If this had happened today with his millions of subscribers, for sure it would have been recorded and shared. However, at the time, he only had about 50k subs, and once he took the footage down on his channel, it seemed to have disappeared. Now, Grant Cardone apparently has footage of the events from security cameras that captured it at his property, and I reached out to Grant to ask if he wanted to share it or give a comment about the events, but he never responded to me. Obviously, the events that happened the day went way too far, and in Kevin's defense, he did admit to it.
Yep, I f***ed up. Look, this may not come as a surprise to you. I've made a lot of videos talking about Grant Cardone and his business models, how he makes money, really all public information to give you more insight so that you could view the businesses that maybe you do business with or invest with a little bit more critically. I consider myself extremely honest and transparent in the information that I provide, how I collect it, and what it is that my mission is, my purpose is. Look, did I make stupid mistakes last year? Of course. I made a lot of mistakes last year.
Now, Kevin, being the weasel that he is, once Grant Cardone sued him for stalking, Kevin decided this was an opportunity to garner sympathy on his channel. He then twisted the events around, saying that Grant Cardone was trying to silence his freedom of speech.
Well, now Grant Cardone is illegally suing me to suppress my right to free speech, and I cannot have that precedent be set on YouTube. Therefore, I am posting this video.
Grant's lawsuit had nothing to do with Kevin's freedom of speech. It had to do with Grant Cardone sick of Kevin's harassment, and as Grant stated in his disposition, his staff and family were afraid for their lives. After the incident at Cardone Capital, many of Grant's staff asked Grant if they needed to carry concealed firearms as they were fearful of what Kevin might do next. From the disposition and people I talked to who saw the entire footage before it was taken down, it was clear that Kevin and his team were harassing Grant's staff, and I completely understand why this lawsuit was filed. Kevin was unhinged, and I understand why Grant's staff was traumatized by this event. Kevin, being the weasel that he is, went on the Wolf of Wall Street podcast and tried to manipulate the story into how he was being falsely punished and unjustly attacked.
And I see the guy throwing the flowers away. I run towards him. Then I see him throwing those away, and then I'm like, well, let me go ask Jared why they're throwing the flowers away. And the front door is over here. I'm over here by the dumpster. I run back. I grab a door. It's locked. It's some real estate office. Go grab another door. Flings right open. I'm in the middle of their office. I run inside, run down the hallway. I go, why are you guys throwing our flowers away? So I'm looking, and they see me come in dressed as an elf, and I'm like, hey guys, I just wanted to let you know we have poinsettia flowers outside that we've delivered, and I did say this very calmly, that we have poinsettias that we delivered for everybody. It's a Merry Christmas, and it's a thank you. We wanted to 10x your Christmas. The flowers are outside. Boom! Tackled by the security guy. Throw my camera goes flying. Jared comes, grabs the camera, reformats my SD card. I'm like, flying, and it's getting tackled from behind. Then three other big dudes, and I'm not a big guy. Three other big dudes come grab me, and they're just wrestling. And I'm like, okay, you got me. It's cool. They're just grabbing me, and they sit me down to the front. That's it. We're calling the cops.
Did you sue them?
Huh?
Did you sue them for that?
I could.
You could have sued them.
Yeah, I went to the doctor.
Of course
after.
you could have sued them.
I probably still could. I went to the doctor afterwards, and they I don't know how they do it, like an X-ray or something on my neck, but there's some stupid spasm or something I have now from that quick whip back, and I still feel it slightly. I feel it now.
Kevin claimed in that clip he may countersue because his back hurts after being tackled. However, he never did, because in my opinion, him being tackled was justified after re-entering the building after security asked him to leave and lock the door. At that point, Kevin was trespassing and the staff were terrified of him. What he did was creepy and terribly disturbing. Now, this event happened in mid-December 2018, and the day before Christmas, Grant Cardone filed the stalking lawsuit against Kevin. Meet Kevin decided this was a great opportunity to garner more sympathy for him and made multiple videos trying to convince his fans this was an attempt to stop him from telling the truth, when in reality, it was to keep Kevin away from Grant and his staff. Now, the lawsuit went on for a few months months into 2019, and to Kevin's defense, he hired an excellent lawyer who was able to poke holes in Cardone's story. Grant eventually had to sit for an hour-long disposition of the events, and Kevin's lawyer grilled him as lawyers do. What we do learn from the disposition is that Grant repeatedly asked Kevin to leave him alone after Kevin confronted him in person multiple times. We learn that Grant's family were fearful of what Kevin would do next, and that Kevin and his team had done major property damage to both the outside and the inside of Cardone Capital building during the event. Now, ultimately, this lawsuit was eventually dropped in April of 2019, and in my opinion, there were two main reasons why that was. The first reason is that Grant Cardone screwed up when he filed the lawsuit claim with the police department against Kevin. In his report, Grant wrote that Kevin destroyed personal property, including the door to Cardone Capital. Now, obviously, the building, doors, and other personal property were not destroyed, they were damaged, but Kevin's lawyer made it clear that many of Cardone's statements were factually incorrect. This may seem like a minor misstep, but in a trial, an excellent lawyer would be able to use this as grounds to convince the jury that Grant was lying or untrustworthy. The second reason, and in my opinion the more likely reason, is that Grant Cardone has made some very questionable business practices over the years and is currently being investigated for making false claims about his property holdings as well. Kevin's lawyers were clearly top-notch and most likely would have investigated and brought much of this into the light had this gone to trial. Grant Cardone, knowing there was tons of attention already on him, ultimately decided this was a case he didn't want to fight further, and the case was dropped. Now, despite this case eventually being dropped, the facts remain that what Kevin did was incredibly wrong and never should have happened. What he did was incredibly creepy and very stalkerish in my opinion. He repeatedly attempted to meet Grant in public many times, despite being asked by Grant to leave him alone. If you want to make a video exposing Grant, that's perfectly fine, but making multiple attempts to hunt this guy down in public is wrong and inappropriate. After all this unhinged behavior, remember that Kevin is the guy that tried to run for governor of California. This stalker wanted to be the governor of the wealthiest state in America, and now he is attempting to fleece millions of dollars from people to create his new startup, and will soon be launching his own ETFs that will be publicly traded on the stock market. This guy has almost 2 million subscribers and is adored by hundreds of thousands of people. Is this really the type of behavior that should be praised? Is this the type of person that people should be taking stock advice from and following for business advice as well?